Hello, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are, Mother. Sorry about starting a little bit late. There were some technical issues I had to take care of. Anyway, I don't come back today with me monologue, Boku Talk. Today, I will deal with a very important topic, and I want to address this directly to the intellectual class of Sierra Leone, because the intellectual class of any country now then gets the moral and ethical responsibility for ensuring a country develop. If they're not do waiting for do, nothing, not the work. To change my camera settings and my audio settings. Sorry about that. If they not stick together, nothing, not the work. If they not think together, nothing, not the work. Yes, we understand, say Sierra Leone, now a country made up of different ethnic groups and different languages or whatever we choose to call them. But the fact is, and I think I don't say that before, and I go always say them, and I go try to get a separate program on that. We lucky forget a commonality where they oversight. We are all of the same DNA, same bloodline, same origin, I can say conveniently, because whatever we say, there are few people in Sierra Leone who may have origins outside West Africa or outside what they call the Upper Guinea Coast. The Upper Guinea Coast begin from Mauritania right down to Liberia and maybe some parts of La Côte d'Ivoire. When you look within the axis, and especially the axis we cover Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, we all are the same people than they. Maybe today they talk different languages. That to get for research, why would they talk different languages? But we all are the same people. And language naturally they evolve. Anybody who studies sociology is able to understand what they are to say. Language they evolve over time. Language nothing way it change as time they go on. It's like an animal where they grow. The English language where they talk today, not the original language, but because the English language don't spread globally, it gets a lot of foreign words in them. They get Arabic, they get Persian, they get Pacific. A lot of things they call today official in English, not original English, like papaya, not English. Cacao, not English. Tapioca, not English. Language they grow, and they grow for several reasons. It don't mean say because today we they talk one language in a particular area that make we different. But that's not the issue today. I will find time to discuss that. The issue today is any country in progress, in problems, they come out from how the one that we go school, we get education, we get knowledge, they decide for run that country. We're unfortunate in Sierra Leone or in most parts of Africa that we will go school and university, we know they think that way. We only they think, say, oh, I don't get my education, that I forget a comfortable life. Yes, you have a right to that. It's your right. But in trying to get that comfortable life, you have to do something where they impact society. You have to do something where they make that one when not reach your level, instead able to get a basic living. Why? There are several reasons for that. But the composite reason is the more we uplift the people who are not as educated as us, the more we they increase their ability for make them people and they use their talent for produce goods and services. And the more we produce goods and services, the more we they create what the economists they call real incomes. And then real incomes then they give you the ability for pay wages will go make people them afford for live a good life. It's a process, but it's a process to be started by the intellectual class. They get the ethical and moral obligation for that. Any country, when the intellectual class then stick together, irrespective of the differences in opinion, the differences in race and color, that country makes progress. But when the intellectual class decides, say, we form cliques and clubs and clans, then we have what we have in Sierra Leone today. And when we create that kind of society, who that they suffer most? Have we ever asked that question? Do you think it's the people down there that suffer most? No, all of us suffer. All of us. You can be at State House, you still they suffer. How do you suffer? At night you don't sleep. That's suffering. If you're at State House, you should sleep at night. But if you always think, say, and they come for you, they're not suffering. If you depend job, the job not they pay you well. You see, you feel say you get education. But every day, you for do on the hand game. You go think say they do well. You go bills, you go buy motor car, but you they suffer because at night you don't sleep. It tells on your conscience. You may have all the good jobs, all the ability and access. Forget what you want when you want them. But if we don't construct a society that produces goods and services and real incomes, we go allow we for able run an economy that can be stable. Always you they get inflation, things they go up. And so with all you millions or billions, you still they suffer because every day you get for they pay a new price for the same thing. So why don't we think and begin to act right? Why don't we? What is so big about that? I think I will answer that question in today's monologue. The problem we have in Africa, and especially so in Anglophone Africa, and especially in Sierra Leone, is that we the intellectuals, they operate on two levels. Culturally, they try to be the African. And of course, you would agree that in Africa, leadership is about patriarchal control. I am the leader. I'm there for life, so I will control everything the way I want it. Everything depends on my favor. Everything depends on my magnanimity. That's patriarchal. Then, the same people who they think that basic African way and want for exercise power the African way, the same people, now they think for change the colonial system we've been there. In Anglophone Africa, we're different from Francophone Africa. The colonial system was there only to control and access resources. It was not there to develop the people. The Anglophone Africa not invest in education. This is one thing we have failed to take cognizance of. They're not investing in education. What they did was they allowed different people who are interested in education to come in and invest. So more or less, education had always been a privatized enterprise. And for a nation needing development, you cannot privatize education because it's not a privilege for a nation needing development. It's a right for everybody. In 1958, the Kingdom of Norway took a decision. They debated it widely, and finally it went to their parliament, the Stortinget, and they made it into a law that education is a right for everyone because the human resource is an economic good. When you develop the human resource, you don't develop talents. When you develop talents, you develop the capacity of the nation for create wealth for himself. 1958, they took that decision. And one of the conditions of the decision was they will find all ways to raise taxes or revenue so that they would equip education, so that they would provide teaching materials, so that they would provide quality teaching, so that everybody will go to school from the first class right up to the highest level in university without paying a fee. That system exists even as I speak. It exists. And that system has paid off in the society. Today, in this society, it's not about people having PhDs. It's about people having high technical and industrial skills, such that the least paid man in this country, the cleaner, and for you to be a cleaner in Norway, you have to go through certain courses and pass those exams. The cleaner takes home $2,500 after tax. Yeah, that's the least paid. It didn't happen by magic. It didn't happen by God mark. It was a conscious plan put in place by those who at that time in 1958 had the intellectual capacity and who at that time saw the need for them to use their ethical and moral obligations for the good of the nation. In Africa, and especially so in Anglophone Africa and Sierra Leone, my country, the picture is different. We get educated to become the lords of our people. We misuse and abuse them as we like. We think they lack the capacity to be like us. They don't. They don't. It's because The British never planned our educational system for it to be for everyone. It created a class system, created a privilege. That is why even today, we talk about good schools, not good schools. For God's sake, all the teachers in Sierra Leone are trained by the same teacher training institutions. Why are we still talking about good schools? When results come, this school did well. Are we sure they are doing well? I will not discuss that today. I'll find time to come and discuss that. Because I'm a professionally trained teacher. I'm a professionally trained teacher. I'm not a talk and chalk teacher. So I have the technical ability to assess any educational system. We will not discuss that today. Let's concentrate on this topic today. Intellectual class have been patriarchal. They want to be Africans when they are in control. Then, instead of changing the colonial system, they adopted it and used it to their advantage. So today, they are the neo-colonialists. We are the neo-colonialists. We have to accept that. We have to. If not, we have to begin to think about how we can put systems and institutions in place for everybody, every human being, and especially so when we consider the fact that we have one of the youngest population on earth across the African continent. In Sierra Leone, the average age as it is below 35, meaning that we have a very young population. Instead of us thinking about how to fund education, how to equip schools and institutions, what kind of system we can come with to fast-track technical and vocational training, we are still privatizing it. We get $2 million, we share to our party cronies. They make all the noise about them running a technical institute. When you go there, you will not meet an hammer or a nail box. In Norway, a middle secondary school, if you go to their carpentry workshop, it's better than any industry you have in Sierra Leone that produces furniture. Yes. If you go to the auto mechanic workshop, it's the same thing. If you go to their STEM lab, you'll see equipment, because you cannot teach those things without equipment. You cannot. Those are not theory courses. They have the aspect of theory that you need to learn, but you have to do it yourself practically, like if you are studying computer science or computer programming. It's a hands-on thing. You don't learn it by reading books, you learn it by doing it. Industrial skills are learned by doing it, not by reading books and passing exams. As a matter of fact, the issue of exam in Norway is not that important. What is important is the issue of demonstration of ability. When they say you are training to be a welder, you would only get a certificate when you produce something and it's seen. It's not when you go and talk all the theories or write all the theories. Why? How can we do that in Sierra Leone? That has to come from a collective mandate and decision by the intellectual class. They would want to say, oh no, it's not our duty, it's the political class. But who are the political class? Are they people from the villages who have never gone to school? It's us who went to school and university. As a matter of fact, today, 90% of us go to get all these titles for politics Because we think when you come and say, I'm Dr. Banabom or Dr. Lamboy or whatever, then they will take you serious and vote you in. We have to get serious in Sierra Leone. We have to. We have to. Those of us who consider ourselves as intellectuals, we have to. We are not passing here to build houses, buy cars, and accumulate money alone. We are passing here to be part of the transformation of wherever we are born. That's a contribution to humanity. It's a contribution to humanity all of us should do. It's not when you go to a mosque or church and give gifts that you are doing well. You're wasting your time. Because you cannot solve the problems by giving those gifts. You can solve the problem by teaching the people to fish for themselves. Creating the institutions and systems that will allow the people to fish for themselves. Creating the system and institutions that will allow the people to be able to live with their human integrity and contribute to nation building. When you give them good living wages, they will pay taxes. Above all, they will have the ability to consume. And for every good or service that is consumed, there is an indirect or passive tax involved that goes to public revenue. What is so big about understanding this that we are failing to understand in Sierra Leone? The answer is we still have in our head that limited ability or perception. We are the bosses, we are the king, chosen few. Who said we are chosen few? Are we saying God is partial? If God is partial, then let's stop praying. He will make his choice. Those he wants to do favor to, he will do it to them. Because the people who pray most are always poor. So let's stop praying if we believe God is partial. But if we don't believe God is partial, those of us who have the capacity to use the power of God, which is the intellect, let us use it for the benefit of mankind. Let us use it for our posterity. Let us use it to create a comfortable life for our women folk. It's unfortunate I did not dedicate this program at the beginning, but I will dedicate it to the women, the children, and the youths. It's high time those of us who think we're intellectuals get serious. Let us stop all these shenanigans. We are the ones allowing things to go wrong in the country. Then we want to blame the head of state or the military or the police. We have the power. We were told that the pen is mightier than the sword. Yes, it is. The pen is not that thing you write with. It's your ability to think properly. I am sure if we think properly, however recalcitrant the head of state is, if he knows everybody is thinking the same way, believe me, you will go by them. But if you want to think properly, the others, they want to try to undermine you. And who are doing this? These so-called intellectuals. They go and get all these titles to come and deteriorate themselves into hypocrites, gossipers, and all kinds of things that deter society from developing. And some of them, the most painful and unbelievable thing is, when they are outside Sierra Leone, they rise to certain levels. They may call the name, but when they go back to Sierra Leone, you see them as commonplace sycophants. idiots. Why? What is wrong with us? I have made up my mind in this my broadcast to say it as it is. I have a very good reason for doing that. It's a service to humanity. It's a service to my motherland. At this stage in my life, I don't need anybody's favor. I don't need anybody's job. I think Sierra Leone needs me. And I'll do that favor for my country. I'll do that favor. If people don't like it, I'm sorry. You cannot stop me. You cannot. You want to call me any kind of names. It's your business. Some of you call people names. You have more names in you to be called. So don't waste your time. Ask yourself, what is the name that I have? Call it. Forget about Boy. Boy is what he is. You cannot change him. But maybe you need him because he's not only saying the hard truth, but he's also saying things that may help make life better for everybody. With everything we do in Sierra Leone, we end up enslaving ourselves, build beautiful houses and make them into prisons. You have to have a high fence, metal in the window, metal in the front door, metal in the back door. Very soon you'll be putting metal on your roofs because the thieves will come and tack it and take it away to go and make money. Don't we see we are the ones creating the criminals in the society? When you stop the flow, those who don't have will find a way to have. It's high time we begin to get serious. Sierra Leone has so much that if we work together, Sierra Leone can become the richest country in Africa, if not the world. Sierra Leone has more potentials than Norway. Norway has only one mineral they open. Before they started mining oil in 1969, Norway was known for hydroelectricity and fishing. And they are still doing it. That's why here we cook our food with electric cookers. We do everything with this electricity because hydroelectricity is in abundance, it's cheap. Sierra Leone has over 50 places we can generate hydroelectricity from. Now we are going to look for the cheap, easy way. And we are energy experts. You are not energy experts. You are energy go-part. Solar is not our solution, but I'll deal with that on another day. There is a very cheap way we can generate hydroelectricity in Sierra Leone. What was used on Bumbuna can construct over 20 dams producing 10 times what Bumbuna is producing. But because the intellectual class is not united, that's why we go into all this unnecessary expenditure. Because everybody wants to show their ego. I came with this project, I came with that project. And what does it end in? Having to look for kickbacks. When you get the kickbacks, where does it take you? You don't have good hospitals in the country. When you get sick, you have to spend money to be flown out. Maybe by the time they reach with you, wherever you are going, you're half dead or maybe even dead. Can't we think? Where I'm seated now, if anything happens to me, on my mobile phone, I have an app that I'll just activate. Longest time, 10 minutes. An ambulance will come, a police sweeper vehicle will come, they will find out what has happened. If they need to take me to the hospital, they will do that. Yes. This is not magic. It's not something coming from heaven like manna. It is because the intellectuals wanted this kind of society. They planned it, they stuck together, they worked for it. Now we have over 20 political parties.